It's Dan Roan. Dan, thanks so much for making some time for us. Appreciate it.
Got a lot of time on my hands these days, Scott. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, but the governor said starting May 1st, just today, you can get out in the golf course. I bet that's enticing for you.
Well, I made a tee time about 45 minutes ago, so yeah, I'm ready. I'm absolutely ready for that.
Did you say 45 minutes ago or 45 seconds after he announced?
Well, it was pretty close to the time after he announced it.
Well, you came to mind for a lot of people who were watching The Last Dance on Sunday night. And part of this documentary on Michael Jordan and the 97-98 Bulls is going through all kinds of footage, including sports reporting footage. So it's been kind of cool to see some of the established media types in Chicago have cameo appearances, including yourself. First of all, did you watch it, and did you know you would be a part of it?
I absolutely watched it. I mean, I thought it was terrific stuff, especially in light of what we've had to watch in the last 6 or 7 weeks. But I knew we had furnished a bunch of tape to them for the documentary. I had no idea what they took or any of that. Was not really my department at that time. So I wouldn't be surprised if we popped up a couple of more times, really, because that year we did 30 of the 82 games, and I did a lot of the pregame stuff and actually did some of the play-by-play on some games. So, yeah, I may get another cameo before it's over with. But, man, I thought it was just riveting TV.
We're talking with Dan Roan, and you came into the Chicago market the same year as Michael Jordan did. Who had a better first season in Chicago, Jordan or you?
I'd say me, because the Cubs won for the first time in 39 years, and the Bears made it to the NFC Championship game, and the Bulls were pretty darn terrible in 1984-85. But, you could stand out on the street corner of Michigan Avenue and offer tickets to somebody walking by, and they wouldn't take you up on it until Michael showed up. And after the Olympics and all the hype that brought him, and then watching him in some of those preseason games, those tickets got to be a little bit more expensive real quick.
Were the Bulls really, were they kind of like in last place in terms of attention for Chicago fans? I still believe it's always a Bears town first, and then your split loyalties for the baseball teams. Was it that way then?
Yeah, I was kind of new to it. But yeah, I would say that's true. The Blackhawks and the Bulls were probably neck and neck for 4 and 5 on the list. Yeah, absolutely. The Bears were number one at that point, but the Cubs were obviously on the rise, and the White Sox were probably third. And then, then came hockey and basketball in whatever order you want to pick. Nobody was paying a lot of attention, but the Bulls certainly got a lot more important really fast.
Dan Roan from WGN-TV is with us. The Last Dance, you said you really liked it. One of the things I heard about is that Michael Jordan had, I think, maybe last say on anything that could be left out or on the cutting room floor. Is it painting a picture as you remember it from covering him?
Yeah, I thought it was fairly accurate. In fact, from my own point of view, my memory was jogged a few times, but really, if I saw something I didn't remember, I'd say, oh yeah, I remember that. So there wasn't a whole lot new in the first 2 episodes that I hadn't really seen, but man, it was great to kind of relive it. I mean, 20 years ago or 22 years ago, whatever it was, you kind of put it out of sight, out of mind after X amount of years with all the other stuff that's going on. So, yeah, I think from my point of view, it was a terrific thing to go back and see all over again and be reminded of some of the fun that we had back then.
As I read, Dan, that you actually had a rare thing, and that was you got to sit down and have a beer with Michael Jordan. Is that correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, we were at a charity function. They had a bowling tournament that they raise money for their charity every year, and I was invited to participate. So we're getting ready to bowl, and I'm sitting in the bar having a beer, and Michael walks in, sits down next to me, grabs one. So we just sat around for about 15 or 20 minutes and just kind of shot the breeze, and nobody came and bothered him. And he'd been established for a while by then, so that made it even more unusual to be in a circumstance like that. After that, though, it wasn't much longer beyond that if you ever got a free second with him, you were pretty lucky. Although, I will say this, he used to run a basketball camp in Elmhurst College, and he would never, ever have anything to do with the media. But he was still running the camp when he was retired and playing baseball. And I just went over there on a whim, not expecting anything. I went, and one of my compatriots from Channel 2, Howard Sudbury, went over there. So just the two of us and our cameras, and we had started to hear some rumors about him possibly wanting to come back and play basketball again. And sure enough, he goes, "What are you guys doing?" And we said, "Well, nothing." He said, "Come on in this office." He goes, "I got something to tell you." So the two of us went in there, and he pretty much told us he was coming back. And so that's how we found that out. So that was another pretty good piece of there.
At that point, he was telling you off the record, like, just get ready?
No, he didn't say off the record. In fact, he let the cameras roll. So
oh, man.
We were fortunate enough to kind of get the scoop on that one.
Dan Roan is with us. Some memories here of Michael Jordan and just covering Chicago. At that moment, you get to sit and have a beer with him. Look, you've interacted with a number of world-class and superstar-type athletes, and even myself here at the University of Illinois, the more you do it, the more you interact with known figures, you start to realize, hey, these are normal people that put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you and me, and they're just in high-profile jobs. Were you able to sort of say, I'm just having a talk with a guy here, or were you still thinking, I'm talking with Michael Jordan?
I was thinking it was pretty cool, actually, because there's nothing normal about that guy. I mean, zero. Any way, shape, or form. His attitude, the way he attacked the game, the way he lived his life, how competitive he was. He was. That's a special guy right there in a lot of different ways. Maybe not always good ways, most of the time really good ways, but he was one that you will, if you're in our business, you might run across a guy like that once in your lifetime.
So, Dan, you go from, do I have it correct that you jumped right from WCIA here in Champaign up to WGN TV?
Yes, that is correct.
So you go from right here to Chicago, and then you're covering the Bears in the championship, like you said, the Cubs almost getting to the World Series and Michael Jordan and whatnot. Did you envision that, making that kind of jump? And did you ever look back from that point?
I had a couple of, I really enjoyed it in Champaign. We had a great time there, and it was terrific working with the U of I. But yeah, I wanted to move to Chicago, and I wasn't, I was in Champaign for 7 years. I wasn't really looking to make an intermediate jump. I was hoping to get to Chicago. I actually went up there and interviewed for 2 jobs in the same day, and had a chance to get either one of them, I think. But to go to work for WGN, I grew up a Cubs fan, and they had all that going on, and I thought if I had the chance to work there, I was certainly going to take it. Plus, they didn't really have a sportscaster at that time. They would plug in like Brickhouse or Milo Hamilton or even Ernie Banks sometimes to do the sports on the news at night. So I was one of the first full-time guys they had.
And, of course, you knew our guy Steve Kelly here, who's still holding down the fort on Saturday mornings with Lauren and doing pre- and post-game for football. You got any secrets to tell about him?
About Steve?
Who's a better golfer? That's what we all want to know, right?
Me or Special K?
Yeah.
I probably can out-hit him a little bit. I don't know about who's better. I remember when he ran the St. Louis Marathon when we were working together, and he had trained for months for this race. It was his first one, and he couldn't walk any way but backwards for the next week after he got back from St. Louis, which was pretty hilarious, I thought.
Well, I know he appreciates his connection with you as we're talking with Dan Roan. Hey, I wanted to ask you about Illinois sports, especially basketball, but also football, because there's only sometimes so much media attention to go around. I always marvel when I open up the Chicago Tribune. We'll be the furthest we could be away from an NFL football game. It'll be 6 pages of coverage on the Chicago Bears. All that to say, Illinois finally getting back on the map this year. What kind of dent was Illinois making there in the attention of Chicago?
I would say a pretty good-sized one until those final 2 games, the Iowa game and the Northwestern game, that kind of let some of the air out of the balloon, and the bowl game didn't turn out so well either. But congrats to Lovey. I think they're definitely on the way up. He was thrust into a tough situation there. He knew it, and Josh knew it, and everybody knew it. And I think we're starting to see some of the fruits of his hard work. He's getting some guys to come in that they probably wouldn't have gotten, had he not been the head coach. So I think things are on the up there. And basketball, I don't know what to make of Coburn trying to go to the NBA. He's about as ready to play in the NBA as I am.
I think he's testing the waters just to get some feedback, and I think that's what everybody is hoping, because he certainly seems like he'll be fine playing in the Big Ten another year or two.
I just wonder if, he's not going to get drafted for sure, but there are probably a number of teams who would do something with him in terms of sticking him in the G League somewhere. So if he wants to get paid, they don't make a lot of money in that league, but they do make a little bit. And if that's what he's looking for, then he could do it that way, or he could probably play in Europe somewhere. But, man, I really hope he comes back because, with the recruiting class and great news on Miller yesterday and Curbelo and everybody else, I really, even without Iowa, I think they're going to be pretty darn good next year.
Yeah, and, of course, the question is when does next year start for when it comes to football and for basketball? And I think it feels like it's an even bigger question mark when it comes to college sports than it is even pro, because of the student-athlete aspect of it, and you need to have universities open and functioning for athletes to be here, even if you're not playing in front of fans.
Yeah, it's certainly true, and we have no idea when or if school will start and what kind of a format it'll be taking when it does. And yeah, that certainly has a huge impact on what goes on with sports. There are a lot of ideas being floated out there. Conference games only, starting sometime in October maybe. But for me, football is the one, man, that you have to think long and hard about getting that going this fall, just because of the numbers of kids and the proximity. And I know they have that beautiful brand new locker room there, but it's still, you put 70 or 80 kids in it, it's pretty crowded in there. And, there's the bodily fluid issue and the proximity and all those kinds of things. It's a little bit scary when it comes to college football. Now, the NFL, I think they can figure out a way to do it probably, but it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge in college. Even
when it comes to normal, flu or colds or whatever, I mean, as soon as somebody is sick, they're holding guys out, they're making them wear masks and all those kinds of things, just because you don't want to get the rest of the team sick with anything that keeps them from playing the game, let alone something really serious like COVID-19. I'm with you. I just don't know how logistically you pull it all off, even though we're all hoping it happens. I mean, for some of us, it's part of our livelihood, and obviously it's, part of who you root for and what you look forward to in a tradition in your lives, and just pure entertainment. Has it been tough? I phrase this in the context of we all know what's most important going on here, but how hard has it been for you just as a sportscaster, having to not have a whole lot going on?
Yeah, well, it's not really been that hard, but it's getting to be pretty routine now. I'm doing all the shows from my basement, so I haven't really left the house too much except to go out and take a walk for an hour or two every day and